Welcome to the New England Real Estate Journal radio show. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson, and this is part 2 of our holiday season special that we're putting on for all the best of 2014.
Exciting stuff, Rick.
Yeah, smiles.
We had, hopefully everyone had a great holiday as we get ready here, prepared for the new year. Hopefully everyone has great plans for New Year's Eve as well. But we had a great show last week when we talked about, we shared 9 different clips of what we accomplished over 2014, and we got 8 more in store for you today. So
we've had so many great shows, and unfortunately we couldn't put them all onto our best holiday special, but I do think that, we try to do our best at picking out some of them. And,
right. It's just really not even the best of.
No, it's just highlights of some of the shows that we've had.
Highlights that fit, and we should put an asterisk. It's also going to be within a time constraint. So some different pieces of interviews, we kind of jigsaw puzzled it to make sure it was 2 different hours. And but we do thank everyone who was and did take part in our show over the course of the year. Without you, we wouldn't have any listeners.
That's right.
Definitely not tuning into me and Rick.
Speak for yourself. But
True.
We also have, we've been to many different locations with our show.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned a lot about a lot of different cities and towns throughout the New England area. And
we've learned some things.
And we have learned a lot of, I should have said plans.
No, that was an inside joke.
It was an inside joke.
It was an inside joke. We apologize to our fans.
Hey, one of the things we have done on the New England Real Estate Journal show is we've had a lot of fun.
Yes,
and
that's
me and
for
Eric,
sure.
and me and Eric, we sort of have a little banter between ourselves on a regular basis, not just on the air.
Yeah, not just on the air. This is literally 24/7. We just get taped for it for an hour.
And if it's not on face-to-face, it's sometimes in a text.
Mm-hmm. Text,
or
email, Snapchat, Instagram. We find ways to communicate.
That's right. Thank God for social media.
Right.
But we have some great clips that we're going to bring to you for the rest of this show.
Yep.
But we're going to go to a break. We'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
Nice.
And we're back on New England Real Estate Journal Radio. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson. And we have some of our interviews that we've had over the year that we're going to bring you some clips. And our first clip is with Mike Musto from U.S. Pavement.
Good. So tell us a little bit about U.S. Pavement. There's a lot of things that go on with U.S. Pavement that we're finding out.
Well, we've been doing a lot of things over the past few years. I started the company back in 1985. So I've been doing it for almost 30 years, and we do paving, seal coating, crack filling, concrete work, line painting, and basically anything outside of a building other than landscaping. I went to business school at Babson College in Wellesley and decided that I wanted my own company and started this in 1985. So we've grown quite a bit over the years. At the beginning, I started as like a driveway seal coating company, and we got our big break, and my first commercial account was Papagino's, where I actually met with their operations director before I had ever seal coated, and told them the importance of seal coating, and actually sold that job, and
the rest is history.
Lo and behold, we figured out how to do it, and we seal coated that parking lot, and they gave us 12 others to do.
Wow.
So that's
that was the transformation from residential to commercial?
Yes, it was, and that was the first year in 1985, and we still do work for Papagino's even to this day.
Oh, wow.
That's a free plug for Papagino's, too.
There you go. That's true.
And they have very nice-looking parking lots.
So, since then, we've grown the company quite a bit, doing our own work in New England, and we do quite a bit of national work as well. We've grown to about $38 million in sales, and we were actually selected for the second year in a row as one of the top pavement contractors in the country by Pavement Magazine, which was a great honor for us. My biggest move and my best marketing decision came in 2005, and that's when I acquired the phone number 1-800-PAVEMENT. and we put it all over our trucks, our job signs, 12-foot-long signs on the sides of our trucks, job signs everywhere, so people saw it and remembered it, and it gave us that boost that set us apart from the competition. So after seeing the success of just the phone number itself and people remembering how to reach us, it tells people who we are, what we do, and how to reach us. I acquired other phone numbers for the pavement industry, such as 1-800-SEAL-COAT, 1-800-BLACKTOP, 1-800-DRIVEWAY, 888-PAVEMENT, and 1-800-STRIPING. And we started licensing these phone numbers to pavement contractors throughout the country by area code. So if you're in Fort Myers, Florida, and you call 1-800-SEAL-COAT, you're going to get a local contractor down there that's licensing our phone numbers. So this has kind of morphed into its own little network, or big network, should I say, of over 140 contractors. And we actually get national account work and subcontract work to them. We've subcontracted over $30 million in work just to these network members. So not only are we showing them how to grow their local market with the phone numbers, but we're also giving them national work, and it's helped us grow our business too. And the group does about $500 million in total sales.
Oh.
And that was Mike Musto of U.S. Pavement, and Mike had talked about a lot of great things that his company is doing, as well as I think he's doing personally.
Right.
And something...
Buying American. That was a big key about his interview.
Some plans with the veterans.
Yep.
That he's put together, and he's also Buy American.
Yeah.
That
was a big key for that interview, and when I really enjoyed talking to him about that stuff.
But that's incredible how they do all the research to find all these products that are made in the United States.
Yeah, and that was really cool. He said that, and then he said there's some things that we just don't make anymore,
right,
in America at all. But
so that was very interesting.
Really good show.
Now the next clip is from the city of Hartford, Connecticut, and I can't say enough about the city of Hartford. They've been a great supporter of the New England Real Estate Journal radio show.
They have,
and they have a lot of things going on. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson, and we have with us Thomas Deller.
You can call me Tom. That's fine.
Tom Deller. We're good friends now, so it's Tom Deller. He's the director of
Development Services.
And we have, and this is going to be a tough one for me, Lauren Vajavedian.
Perfect. First try.
And Lauren is the marketing and cultural specialist in Hartford as well.
Correct.
And one of the things, there's some big news for Hartford right now.
Yes, there is.
And it has to do with the oldest sport in the country.
That's correct. Back in early June, the mayor announced with the council president that the New Britain Rockcats will be coming to Hartford in 2016.
So now Hartford's going to be competing with the Red Sox.
Well, maybe. We're the Rockcats are Minnesota Twins affiliate, but we have to get ourselves a ball stadium built by April of 16, so we can have that first pitch.
So we need some developers to come down and build that ballpark.
You got it. A few weeks back, we put out a request for proposals for the development of our downtown north neighborhood. We've talked about it in the past on this show, Dono. We're seeking proposals for a public-private partnership to build the ballpark, to do some retail, some housing, and maybe even office space based on what our studies have shown should happen in this neighborhood.
Now, you also have a hotel that will be near this ballpark, but you're looking for additional hotel.
I think given what we've talked to the baseball team about and the need for hotel nights, and given the things that are happening at our convention center, we do need more hotel rooms. And so, a hotel would be a great addition to that development.
Now, actually, when I was coming off the highway, I saw the convention center right over here. How old is that? That couldn't be too old.
10 years old, more or less.
Wow. That's a beautiful building.
It is a great building, and I think there's a lot. People forget how much has happened in the city and how much development has happened in the last 10 years. I mean, right now, there's about 1,000 units of housing in construction right in the downtown, which will bring our residential total in downtown to about 2,800 units. There's another 600-800 on the drawing boards. We've had 4 new businesses.
And that was our interview with Thomas Deller and Lauren Vajabedian from the Salute Restaurant in Hartford, Connecticut, and they were talking a little bit about what was going on in the city and some of the plans they have for the future of the city.
Shout out to James Cosgrove for putting us up in the restaurant and treating us to a fantastic lunch, by the way, right after. That's a double shout out, James. That was a ridiculous lunch. We really appreciate that.
And it wasn't putting up with us, putting us up. It was putting up with us.
Possibly. So touche, double dose.
Yeah.
That was another great interview. Yeah, they're doing it seems like we've been very fortunate with all the redevelopments and all the business developments in the EDCs. The mayor from Warwick, Scott Avedigian, Thomas Deller down in Hartford. Everyone's kind of redeveloping and rebuilding. So we've been really fortunate to be a part of this time frame when we launched our show.
That's right. And I want to thank them. A special thanks to Hartford, Connecticut.
Yep, definitely.
Our next clip is with Heritage Sands. If you love the Cape, you're going to love this clip.
And we're back on the New England Real Estate Journal radio show. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson. And we have today in the studio with us is Rob Brennan and Mike Degnan of Heritage Sands in Dennis, Mass. Hi, Dennis.
Hey, Dennis, how's it going?
Hi, Rob and Mike.
Hi, Rick.
So tell us a little bit about this project, because if people haven't seen these new cottages, they will be amazed.
Sure. No, the project basically, Rick, is bringing back the cottage colony to Cape Cod. We are the first oceanfront cottage colony on the Cape in more than 50 years. In a lot of ways, it's returning to a tradition and a form of community that really is the underlying history of this whole area of Dennisport. You have an area on the Cape where we are along Old Wharf Road that started off as campgrounds, when you go back 80 years. And those campgrounds throughout Old Wharf Road went through the evolutionary process that ended up with these cottage colonies that you have. Chase's Ocean Grove is one. My development partner, Mark DeWitt, that's been in his family for 80 years. It's located right down the road. And there you have an example of 275 families on 18 acres that started off as tent sites and evolved into cottages. Families would say, I'll take the tent site for the entire season, I'll take it for next season. And as soon as that happened, the tent would get walls one year. Next year, the walls would get a roof. 2 brothers would go in the dead of winter and snake in plumbing and electricity.
So it looked like an actual Cape Cod cottage, where everything was pieced together.
That's exactly. If you open up the walls of some of those, you'll find driftwood, that is used as studs inside the walls. And really, what we, working with the town and working with the county, wanted to capture was put in place zoning and encourage development that was as much about the community fabric, that you had in these cottage colonies. And I think that really is one of the biggest defining features, both of the cottage colonies and of our own community. It's siting the cottages in groups and pockets where you have just natural relationships developing among the cottage owners. You go down the road, Chase's Ocean Grove and elsewhere, and it's like a family vine. Kids meet on the beach when they're 5 years old, get married 20, 25 years later, and you have a lot of relations that develop there. We're not necessarily promoting it to that extent, but
right.
But if it happens,
so
we'd be very.
Not a Match.com.
It's not a Match.com. No. Want to be clear about that. We're not in that kind of direction. But our architects, our land planners, and working with the town, I think have really put together a development that is going to foster relationships that don't just last a summer. It's it's going to be generational, and families are coming in for that very reason. They're looking for a place that is going to be generational and handed down within their family.
And that was Heritage Sands, and that's a project that is going on in Dennis, Mass, down in Cape Cod, and they have taking a whole new meaning to cottages down there.
Yeah, they're doing the rebuilding of that old style type Cape Cod village. It's a great show. It was funny, before you introduced this clip, I was hoping that our listeners or watchers weren't referencing the NBC TV show called The Cape, and actually realized it was Cape Cod.
Cape Cod.
Yeah.
I should mention Cape Cod.
You said The Cape, and the first thing I thought was that TV show, which is weird because I'm from Massachusetts.
But you know what? That's funny because I was watching a thing, or I saw on the internet about terms you only hear in Boston.
Massachusetts, yeah, the Cape.
And everyone, the Cape.
The Cape is Cape Cod. But,
so if you're from the Boston area, you know exactly what I meant by the Cape.
Exactly. But that was a great show, and we had a lot of fun with those guys and talking about, what they did and how they basically put a little village right there, right on the oceanfront property too.
I mean, it's right on the ocean.
Yeah.
That was a
12
beautiful
steps into the
spot.
ocean. Really cool stuff.
Our next cut is with Mayor Scott Avedigian in Warwick, Rhode Island, and this was an interview that I had with the mayor, and it was in his offices down in Warwick, and we sat and he talked about all of the plans that they have going on in Warwick, and also some of the things that have already been completed.
Radio, I'm Rick Kaplan, and I have sitting right next to me is Mayor Scott Avedigian of Warwick, Rhode Island. Good afternoon, Mayor.
My pleasure.
So there's lots happening in Warwick.
Yeah, lately there's been a lot of activity, and we've had a number of very positive developments in the last two and a half weeks. Starting with a company out of Smithfield named SESA, S-E-S-A, announcing that they were leaving their location in Smithfield, coming here to Warwick and adding employees. They produce high-tech highway signs, the LED, the ones that tell you move left, merge left, all of that.
Oh, you're going over the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit?
They probably do those as well.
Okay. I see those quite frequently.
So they are moving here, followed very quickly by another announcement that the Warwick Mall is going to be redeveloped on one of their outer parcels to house the first Jared Jewelers in our region, in our area. Then we quickly followed that up with another announcement that CarMax is opening their first location in the region, not far from the Warwick Mall at the old Building 19 site. Then we had Coastway Community Bank move their corporate headquarters from another community in Rhode Island here to the city of Warwick and Metro Center Boulevard in City Center Warwick, that I'm sure we'll talk about as we move forward. Right. And then quickly thereafter, the Rhode Island Mall announced that after 4 years of pretty much being dormant except for their 3 anchor stores, that they were they had relooked at the whole process and were announcing a factory outlet mall with 40 to 60 factory outlet stores that will be open in a little over a year from now.
So that's going to go through a remodel phase.
Absolutely.
So it looks like that everyone that's going to be driving, buying jewelry, and street signs is going to be living in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Well, and that's exactly what we've been looking for. And what was really nice, though, is that twice we had the companies talk about what brought them here. And SESA talked about the convergence of a train station, an airport, Route 95, Route 295, and the ability to reach everyone in Rhode Island and their target business audience very quickly. And then the developers of the factory outlet mall talked about Warwick being one of the hottest retail commodity areas right now, and that's exactly what we're trying to position ourselves as. So it was nice to hear what we've been saying to businesses now being repeated back to us.
Right. Well, it's also central, and the airport's not too far from
right.
here. So anyone that's coming into town has to go through Warwick.
Right, and that's one of the reasons why we created City Center Warwick, directly across from TF Green Airport, our 95 acres of prime real estate that we want to redevelop. We've already begun portions of that. Part of it was to take a contaminated brownfield site, the old Bayless Chemical Company, remediate the land and turn it into the Warwick Station. So the train station, it's nice to be able to look at what used to be polluted and contaminated land now having a public purpose again. Directly across the street from the train station is the Hilton Garden Inn, again, another brownfield site that was remediated. The building was taken down, the old Malleable Ironworks building was taken down, reconstructed with the bricks from the old building, and a brand new Hilton Garden Inn hotel, which had the highest occupancy of any hotel in Rhode Island over the weekends last month.
And that was Mayor Scott Avedisian in Warwick, Rhode Island. And he talked a little bit about all the different projects that have been going on in Warwick and some of the future projects that are going to be coming into Warwick. And he also talked a little bit about their offices and how some of the, the projects that they redid, some of the chambers there and some of his offices in the building.
And he's a very excitable guy. And so when you get to interview him, he comes very positive, and he's very, he's got a gift for gab, much like you and I do. And we had a great time interviewing him. So, thank you again for taking the time to interview us.
Well, you have more of a gift of gab than I do.
No, I think we both have the gift. Mine just rolls off the tongue better.
Well, when you get to be my age, you won't.
Right, I agree.
And we're going to come back with more clips from 2014. We'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
Hi, and welcome back to the New England Real Estate Journal radio show. I'm Eric Wilson alongside Rick Kaplan, and we're doing our best of 2014 holiday show. Earlier, you heard from Mike Musto. You heard from Thomas Steller and Laura Varjabedian. From Hartford Hazard Show, you heard about Cape Cod and what they're doing down there for the Heritage Sand Show, as well as Mayor Scott Avedisian in Warwick. And right now, we're going to tap into Charlie Spees from CEI Capital Management.
Wilson, and we have sitting right next to us is Charlie Spees. He is the CEO of CEI Capital Management. A lot of C's in there.
Yes.
So tell us, Charlie, what is CEI Capital Management all about?
Well, CI Capital Management we're based out of Portland, Maine, but we work nationally, and we have a high concentration of business in New England. We're a subsidiary of Coastal Enterprises, or CEI, and Coastal was founded in 1977. I grew out of the Civil Rights Movement, and it works on what we call a triple bottom line. It looks at how to make economic transactions that make sense, but also how can you support social equity, especially people in low income in their lives or in their communities, and also environmental sustainability. So we take that mission and we've applied it to what's called the New Markets Tax Credit Program, which is a federal program that allows for investment by private capital. It moves private capital, but it targets it at low income areas across the country. And our focus has been on to carry out this triple bottom line mission, and we grew up doing a lot of rural work in Maine, and we work rurally around the country, but we've also done projects in Boston and Worcester, other places across New England, to try and get capital into these communities to create jobs and help diversify those communities for the long term.
What is the New Market Tax Credits Program?
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair question. It started in 2000. It was one of the last bills that President Clinton signed, but it's been supported by then his successor, President Bush, and other presidents have always been supportive, and it's supported actually on both sides of the aisle in Congress. It provides a tax credit of up to 39% of the qualified investment for the investors in the program, and then that capital is used. They'll essentially invest in that company, knowing they're going to get the tax credit, and then that creates.
And that was Charlie Spees of CEI Capital Management, and we discussed his redevelopment of projects that they
Well, he works with developers that will work on redeveloping areas that are in a low,
affordable area.
Low income. That have been in tough times. Mm-hmm. And they need drastic redevelopment, and they need to clean up the areas. And he works with them, and he figures the financing, and he also figures out what they need to do to bring in other projects in the
Yeah.
area to make it a viable project.
Right, make it good
a viable
retail
development.
as well, things
Yeah.
like that. And we're going to transfer now over to the restaurant industry as we interviewed Dennis Serponi of the New England Restaurant Brokers.
Wilson, and we have sitting next to us the one and only Dennis Serponi of New England Restaurant Brokers. And everyone should know who Dennis is because he's always at our networking events.
Right.
And he's a third-time guest in the past year.
Wouldn't miss those events.
Well, unfortunately, we can't.
And I always bring my office.
Yeah,
I mean,
you do.
I think
That's right.
they love it.
Yeah,
That's
it was
such a
it's always
great,
time.
great way to network.
Yeah, and they'd start dancing and
Drinking.
drinking. You know, they're having a
Dancing,
good time
drinking.
too.
Right?
It's a relaxed atmosphere.
is.
It is.
You know?
It
That's what
is.
makes it so good to network.
Of course. That's what it's centered around. But we're going to talk about what today?
Restaurants and, properties that the restaurants evaluation.
Yeah, I think one of the big issues that when people decide to sell or buy a restaurant, they're typically either selling at a price that's unrealistic, or they're buying it at what's the word I'm looking for? They underestimate the value. Typically, the buyers want to steal, and the sellers want to get maximum money for their.
That's old news, though,
It
because
is.
that's the way it's been for generations.
That sounds like my fantasy football
No
league.
one wants to
Everyone's
pay a
always
lot for
trying-
anything, and
Everyone's always
everyone
trying to
wants
get
to
the
sell
better
everything.
side of the deal,
Buy high, sell low.
That's right.
right? So how do you
Well,
negotiate that?
the interesting thing is there are a number of components that create value. Most buyers and sellers don't understand the process. We go in and we evaluate before we take on a listing. We sit down with the sellers and try to determine what the real value is. Sellers, again, always price it too high. They expect too much money for their operation. And it's really based on three major components. One being the gross sales, the goodwill of a business. That's what drives profit. That's what drives success. Secondly is a lease. If the lease isn't realistic, if the lease is too high, too low, not too low, but if the lease is too high or not, it doesn't have much longevity to it, that's going to affect the value. And thirdly is the equipment. A business that's been in business for 25, 30 years typically will have old equipment. The facility has to meet minimum standards, which have evolved through the years. So it becomes a little bit difficult. So in coming up with a price, it's a matter of evaluating all the different components: competition, location, concept. The world doesn't need another Italian restaurant. The world doesn't need another pizza place. So it's a matter of evaluating a lot of different things and coming up with something realistic.
And that was Dennis Serponi of the New England Restaurant Brokers, and we talked about the restaurant industry from all the way from franchises down to the mom and pops.
Yeah.
And he's got a wealth of information when it comes to the restaurant industry.
Yeah, he talks a little bit about some, the values of buying and selling restaurants. But he also, Dennis Serponi has been a sponsor at a lot of our events.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do come to our January 29th event in
Yeah.
Boston, you'll meet Dennis Serponi, and he can tell you a little more about restaurants.
Yeah, shout out to Dennis as being a huge fan of our show, as well as a frequent guest and a big contributor and supporter of what we do, Rick. So that's really great stuff. We're going to transfer now into the loan game, and we're going to talk to Michael Chaburri of Worth Avenue Capital out of Connecticut.
We're back with our next guest, Michael Chaburri of Worth Avenue Capital.
Yes.
And he's been a prior,
Another prior guest?
yeah, but Mike was
One of the
I
first.
think like fourth or fifth, maybe
Yeah.
up 15th guest
Tops.
on our
He's
show.
within our first 10.
Well, it's got to be what, Rick? We said it's got to be a year and a half ago
Yeah.
when we
about a year
spoke.
and a half.
We're
At
coming
least.
up on our 100th show right pretty soon, and you were one of our first 10 guests.
Well, congratulations,
and
guys.
you know, and I was telling Mike earlier that his show was probably our most listened to
It was.
show at that time.
And I paid him to say that.
Yeah. But it was
Well, you paid someone to listen to the show. That's
it was
what
our
we needed.
first time we
There
had
you
a
go.
real conversation on the show, and it was really good.
Well, you guys do a great job, and the New England Real Estate Journal has been good to me. I get a lot of business from it. I get a lot of leads, and the radio show certainly helped. And you guys have great visibility, and this is a great conference tonight. A lot of good people here and exchanging cards and finding out what everyone does, and you'd be surprised the deals that come out of it.
Right.
If you're willing to, just talk to people.
Right, that's it.
That's all it is.
You have to get out and network with people.
Exactly.
Face to face.
You really do.
It's a great tool.
And that was Michael Treberry from Worth Avenue Capital. And we interviewed Michael at our Cocktails and Conversations event, I believe, in Providence.
Yes.
This is where this one came from.
Right.
And he was rocking a really nice bow tie suit combination, I do remember.
But, Mike has been in the game for quite a while. He knows his stuff when it comes to financing.
He does.
And he is he's writing a lot of big loans.
He is. And you can find out, go to commercialloans.com. And the reason I remember that is because we see it all the time. It's always, we just close this loan, we just close this loan.
But you also can remember things.
Yeah, I tend to.
And
shout out to Michael Treberry as well. He's been a big fan of our show as well, and he's been on the show a couple times.
Yeah, now, we originally interviewed Mike back, I think, when we first started our shows.
We did, over 2 years ago.
Yeah,
now.
over 2 years ago. And then Mike came to our event in Providence, Rhode Island,
Right.
and we interviewed him again.
We did. We were lucky enough to interview him twice, and I'm a huge fan of our show and a big supporter as well. And finally, for our last segment of our 2014 Best of Show, we sat down with Brian Burke of Buckaplan, also at the Cocktails and Conversations event in Hartford. Hi, I'm Eric Wilson. You're here at the Cocktails and Conversations New England Real Estate Journal's events. I'm joined now by Brian Burke, the principal owner of Buckaplan. How you doing, Brian?
Doing good. How are you tonight?
Very good. He is a longtime guest, first-time face for all you YouTube users. You've been on our New York show. We've talked about this before. Let's jump right into it. Let's let our listen. What is Buckaplan, so our viewers and our listeners at home can find out a little bit more about it?
Buckaplan is simple. We started as a new concept for contractors, architects, engineers, and real estate and development people to get plans for a fixed rate of $1 per plan. It's simple. You go onto our website, you create a username and password, you upload the PDF files, you send us your order, tell us how many sets of plans you'd like. We print them, we put them in a UPS tube, and we ship them to your office via ground service, and you get it the next day anywhere in the New England area.
And that was Brian Burke of Buckaplan at our Cocktails and Conversations event at Hartford. And he talked about how he got started in his business and how the business kind of demanded him to evolve and do this $1. You can order it online, make sure it gets shipped the next day, blueprints.
And it became a great service for a lot of people in the industry that needed blueprints fairly quickly.
Right.
And also without the hassle of bringing it down to some printing place that would take a week or so to print them out, or even hours. You had to wait around if you needed it in
exactly
very quick time.
And, very efficient, cost affordable. But Brian Burke and Buckaplan also sponsored
at
our Hartford event.
Of our Hartford event, and they're also going to be a sponsor of our Boston event.
So if you have the opportunity to go to our January 29th Boston event, not only will you get to meet Brian Burke, but you also get to meet Dennis Sapone, as they'll both be there. And we'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
Back on New England Real Estate Journal Radio, I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson, and we're coming to a close of one of our great shows, Best of
close of the year as well?
2014, and the close of the year. And we have a few people we need to thank.
Quite a few.
First, I'd like to thank all our people that support our show and watch and listen to it on a hourly, weekly basis.
Yeah, hourly. Hopefully you guys put this on the loop.
And I also like to thank all of our guests that have been on our show for not just this past year, but for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And we also like to mention that we've hit over 100 shows.
Right. We hit our 100th show early in December, and we should, by the end of this show, actually reach 10,000 views on YouTube.
That's pretty incredible. That says we're doing something right.
Hey. if you do something 10,000 times, I'm pretty sure you're a pro at it.
Yeah.
So if you viewed us like, we're all pros out here now.
I was at 5,000. I was considering us a pro. So.
Yes, I'll be honest with you. To reach 10,000 views and to do 100 shows, it takes a lot more than Rick and I just looking fantastic and doing great interviews for you. There's actually a team that helps support us, and we like to thank them as well.
And we like to thank them. We like to thank Corey Woods. Without him, the videos that we do on a weekly basis wouldn't be possible.
Mm-hmm.
He does a great job in putting those together. Matt Miller, who assists him in that, we also like to thank him. Kathy Ferry, who is our graphic designer at the Journal, at New England Real Estate Journal.
Right.
She does a lot of work with the paper as well as the show.
Right. She does. She does she's the head of all the designs. She does our little flags that we did here. Thank you, Kathy, for this, and she also helps to design our banners.
That's right. She does quite a bit.
stands.
And she does a great job at it. Nicole Fowler, who has been pushing out a lot of our social media information with the help of Eric. And also John Picard, the president of the New England Real Estate Journal. And John has been a great supporter of what we do on the NEREJ Radio, also with our cocktails and conversations that we put on quarterly.
Right.
I'd like to also thank Dave Sullivan. He's very important because he's the guy that has the money. He's the CFO.
The guy you always have to thank, the one who pays your budget.
That's right. So hopefully with this big thank you and promoting Dave Sullivan's name out there, that he's an important part of our whole plan of things here.
Yep.
That he's going to increase our budget next year.
He is. He's going to add 2 more photos to our mantle.
Yeah.
One of him and one of me.
Yeah, so that's another $20.
Yep. Solid.
Good. And without Rolly Hopkins, the founder of the New England Real Estate Journal, none of this would be possible. You can't thank him enough because he's been a great supporter of the commercial real estate industry as well as putting out the content in the New England Real Estate Journal for over 50 years.
Right. He also is a big supporter of our radio show when we first started it. He likes people to try things and see what we can do, and he was really happy that you found your niche with the radio.
And I want to thank Eric Wilson for being by my side for the 2 years and helping me say things correctly or correcting me as I say them. And we've become almost like a married couple over the 2 years.
We are definitely a married couple.
Now he can finish a lot of my sentences.
What I was going to say is also I like to thank you, Rick, though, for actually giving me this opportunity. 2 years ago when I was in this journal, I never thought I'd be on the radio. I never thought I'd be on YouTube. I never thought I'd be writing a column. I never thought any of these things were possible. But without you guys, it wouldn't be. So I appreciate the opportunity and thank you for that.
And I wish everyone a happy holiday and happy New Year.
And we do have to thank one last final person.
And who is that?
That would be Dave Donnell, our general manager, who brings home our YouTube channel on Saturday nights with a bottle of wine. Him and his entire family sit in the living room and watch our shows.
You know, I don't know how I could have forgot to say that.
I know, right?
He is an important part.
An important part because he is our test group. You know, every Monday morning we'll come back in and he will let us know, how his family reacted to our shows and what they learned about the industry.
And now it also depends on how he judges us. It's not like a star rating.
No.
It's a bottle of wine rating.
It is.
A good
full,
show.
half, or empty.
Right. Good show, 3 or 4 bottles.
Yeah, right?
Bad show, 1 bottle. But, we want to thank Dave. I also want to thank Money Matters Radio Network.
Yes, and Dave Cullinane.
For also supporting us with our radio show.
Right. Happy holidays, everyone.
And happy holidays and Happy New Year.